Welcome, Warriors, back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club, and hope you guys are doing well on your journey. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. We're in the 6th of December, 2021. So we're moving along, and hope you guys are keeping on your purpose, not becoming weak-minded in the things that you do. And hopefully we continue with doing this stuff that's going to help you guys. So thanks a lot for the subscriptions, the comments, the donations. Everything is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys are going to have a great Christmas season, and as we move along to the Happy New Year, moving into 2022. So I'm going to continue today on the 10 Commandments, and as I'm getting closer to 550 days, and I'm going to work on the one we're going to talk about today is thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. So this commandment is really a very important one, and one that I've struggled with, and I struggle with a little bit even this weekend. So I have to continue working on this one hard. Because I played football and back in the old days, and I have a strong competitive nature that comes out with getting upset a lot, frustrated. So I was watching some of the football games over the weekend, and certainly I got frustrated and upset at some of the games going on there, and why I did that I'm not totally sure, but one of those things that I'm trying to overcome as I go through things. But it really goes back to a matter of self-control. Now, it is better than it used to be. My wife can tell you, it was not very good years ago, whether it was addiction to video games and being competitive with that, or being too competitive with watching football games through fantasy football, which I don't do anymore because it was just way too competitive for me to handle when my teams may have won, but I lost because I had a certain player that didn't do too well. And there's not too much you can do to control some of that. And so because of that, that is really a problem. So part of the issue was my lack of self-control and being able to really control things, or actually try to even focus on things that I could control. And that's why I think the Lord always says that you should not worry about things you can't control. Just control things you can. And when you put yourself in positions like that, you're creating your own problem, and that's what I was doing. And so that's what I do. And so I have to be careful of that. So I have to do those type of things to stay away from it. Now, what's the problem with this? What's the problem when you see a lot of cursing and a lot of people saying, bad words and all these type of things? Well, it's really a matter of self-control. And in using the Lord's name in vain is not a good thing at all. And you're not really showing respect to your Creator. But beyond that, you're just not having self-control. You're not really kind of using self-control, trying to control your emotions. And I think that's the key to a lot of the things we're talking about. I don't even know this, but and when you're on retention, for instance, you have less of that. So my issues are not as great as they used to be, and I've gotten better with it. But I think the retention part makes a huge difference when it comes to using the Lord's name in vain, and trying to be someone who's in self-control. And really, guys, that's the whole key to a lot of this. That really the matter is not so much what you're doing, how much money you're making, all these other types of things. It's really how much control you have and how much respect you give to your Creator and your God. And so in my case, one of my faults is this continual getting too upset at watching football games or watching things that playing video games and things like that. So I've had to go away from that. So I stopped playing video games a long time ago, and football games, I need to control that more too. So I have to kind of do things while I'm watching it, or get myself busy into work or things like that. And that's not so far off, guys, than the things we're talking about when it comes to retention and images, right? If you're getting in this situation where you have images and you can't really control that, then put yourself into other types of things. So if you're in a situation where you think you could lose control and get angry, then you got to remove yourself from the situation. almost like the pornography and the imaging and things we talk about. Don't put yourself in a position where you can be tempted. And I think that's the key thing. So when it comes to a lot of these type of things, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to go to a casino and gamble if you have an addiction to gambling. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to have a lot of food if you have an addiction to eating. Don't put yourself in a position where you're in a cigar bar or something like that if you're addicted to smoking. And don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be, with people, dancing around naked, places where they show pictures and images and all those type of things, even on your computer. Now, sometimes there's things you can't avoid. And so you have to kind of try to just be careful of that. But the habit you build in trying to stay away from those things will make it better when that actually, if it does happen, and it's bound to happen. You're bound to run into an image here and there, or a person who may, try to seduce you in one way or another. It doesn't necessarily mean we're not talking just necessarily about pictures. We're also talking about things like, drug addictions, all kinds of things you could get yourself involved in. So stay away from those places and things that those things are possible, because that's the devil who is trying to push you into those type of things. And I go back to the swearing. It's the same thing. I have to be careful of that. We all have issues, guys. Now, I'm getting better in certain things like retention, obviously, because I'm at 500 some days and 70 some days in monk mode. But I'm still having problems in other areas. So I have to kind of work on this using the Lord's name in vain, especially when I'm watching something and I shouldn't be watching it. Now, I enjoy watching football, so that's part of the issue. It's almost like enjoy watching, the images, but you can't really focus on that. You got to watch out for the dopamine. You have to be careful of that. So the idea, guys, is to be able to really focus on trying to keep yourself out of those situations if possible. The other thing you do is keep yourself busy, right? Keep yourself busy to try to have your goals, have your things in mind. Once again, focus on your images. If I'm going to focus on making a lot of money, focus on my creator, focus on having a six-pack of abs, those are the three focuses that I do. So when I go to bed at night, or I'm in the morning, or I'm doing things, those are the focuses. So anything else beyond that, those type of things, should not be something that you're really kind of concentrating on. And I think that's the whole key to it. So concentrate on the right things and avoid the wrong things. So 2 suggestions there. In order to avoid the swearing, first, put yourself out of situations where you can get yourself into trouble, right? Temptation. Keep yourself out of those situations. That's number 1. And number 2, get busy enough so that you get your mind off of even being tempted or taking this thing you're saying seriously. The same thing with people, right? If you're sitting there and someone's trying to get you upset, kind of walk away from the situation. Walk away. Get to the point where it's not going to bother you. Now, some people can also, they know how to pull your triggers. You're going to have to kind of realize that part of it so that you can try to not get upset when they say something. But here again, the more you're on your goals, the more you're on your retention, the better chance you have to not be as upset with those things, because you do have everything inside you, your nutrients, and you're able to handle anxiety and fear and those things. And so anger and frustration come from that. But, it's one thing to get frustrated with something you're actually doing. It's another thing to get frustrated with things you can't do anything about. And you can't do anything about what people say about you. You can't do anything about what you're watching on TV or the internet. And you certainly can't do anything about things that go wrong that you have no control over. So only do things you can control and do the best you can with that. All right, guys, have a great morning. We'll talk to you later. Battle on!